everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for AXC February 2026. I am putting a question into the chat that you can answer while we're waiting for people to join us. What did you do that was fun during the snow? And if you live in Florida or California, tell us what you did in the last month that was fun. We'll wait for people to come in. We have a lot of people on this today. We're very excited to bring a panel discussion to you. We don't usually do those, but we're excited to have that today. Again, the question in the chat is, what did you do during the snow that was fun that you can share with your fellow association? So Amber says she watched her children sledding and then made homemade hot chocolate. Amber, I'm coming to your house next week if we get snow. That sounds fun. No snow in Atlanta. I said if you come from a place where it didn't snow, we don't want to hear about it because DC is about to get more snow potentially over the weekend. So we're not looking forward to that. Um, our snow here was like concrete. It literally was called snowcrete. It was the first time I couldn't shovel the snow because it was just so heavy with the ice. So anyone else in a snow entrenched area over the last month that could share with us what they did that was fun during the snow as we wait for people to join us? A massive play date with all the dogs in my building. Oh, that sounds adorable, Hannah. Thanks for joining us. Kristen said she sat back and watched her teens shovel out the driveway. I need your teens. I need a number. I had to hire people to shovel out my driveway. Um, and as best they can, yeah, as best they can. It was a good phrase for that snowstorm, at least the one we had in DC with all the ice. Um, so we're really excited to have everybody join us today. We normally start a couple minutes after 12, giving people a few minutes to get on. And we have a really exciting panel talking about marketing and AI today. So we'll let everybody come in. I'm still seeing people come in, and when it slows down, we'll get started. And while you're waiting, what did you do that was fun during the last snow? And if you're somebody in a place where it didn't snow, we envy you. Oh, somebody said there's an echo. I'm not hearing an echo. Is anyone else hearing an echo?
No.
Okay. Okay. Somebody else said they're not hearing an echo. Renee, maybe you need to go out and come back in. So we'll get started because we do have a panel today. Thank you very much for joining us today for AXC February 2026. We're going to be talking about AI and marketing. A couple of housekeeping comments before we get started. Please put your questions into the chat and we'll keep track of them and answer them at the end of the panel discussion. We have a really robust panel. We have a short amount of time. And so people are going to be jumping in and talking about various aspects of marketing and AI. And we're really excited to get started. Our March program, keep an eye out for that. We have not set the date, but it will probably be towards the end of March. And I'm going to turn it over to Tom Quash, who is going to introduce our panelists today. Tom?
Thank you, Sherry, and thank you everyone for joining us today. We're excited to start this conversation, and I'll introduce our moderator and our panelists. Our moderator is J.S. Daughtry, who is the Chief Communications Officer and owner at CQBD. And our panelists today are Kelly Bove, CAE, Vice President of Marketing and Branding at the American Dental Education Association, Kelly Hensler, who's the Marketing Director at the International Council on Systems Engineering, Curtis Kitchen, CAE, who's the Director of Marketing at the Society for Simulation in Healthcare, and Dr. Catherine Latta, CAE, President of Latta Consulting, LLC. And I'll turn it over to Jay to get us started.
Fantastic. So we've got a number of questions that we want to move through over the next 30 plus minutes. And the first one is I'm going to ask the panelists, what are your 2 or 3 go-to or most favorite AI tools at present? And maybe go into a little detail about one of them that others may not be familiar with. Who'd like to start us off on that one?
I can start us. So one of the tools that I've lately been using a lot is Descript. It is super easy to edit videos that way, and paired with Canva, it lets you create motion graphics in there as well. So that has saved a ton of time and has enabled me from a marketing perspective to go ahead and create like little educational snippets and marketing snippets from the whole webinar and not having to promote it that way. So that's one of the tools I'm using.
I'll jump in. When it comes to my day-to-day work, the non-creative aspect, I do love using my custom GPTs, so ChatGPT and Copilot. But when it comes to the creative aspect, Wondershare Filmora's AI suite is really wonderful when it comes to video. So anything when it comes to AV needs.
Yeah, I'll go next. I think mine, at least one of my favorites, it feels boring, but I think it's become increasingly important, are any assist you can get with prompts. And through Galaxy.ai, if you've not used that, it's a collection or a clearinghouse of AI tools. But they have an entire library dedicated to good prompts. And I'm all for good in, good out, right? When we're trying to use AI tools. And so if you can get the prompts that will help you get to a better product or a better result quicker, I think that's a must. So I highly recommend anytime you can get a prompt library and lean into some expertise there, you should do it.
And I'll just say, I'm sure many folks use it regularly, but I am a big fan of Claude just in the interface, in copywriting, on the regular. I think it's more natural flow of writing, and I like the way that you can update just a section of it at a time versus getting a scroll of content rewritten over and over again. So.
I just have a quick question. I'm getting a couple of comments that the screen is not sharing. So do I have to do something different to share my screen?
No, you just go to everyone in the chat and it will,
Mhm.
I'm not sure how you share screen. Sorry.
Let me, maybe I can share it again, get out of it and then share it again. Um,
There we go.
is that it? Okay.
There it is. There it is.
Woo.
Well, we can leave that up for a moment as we go to the next question. On a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is AI is fully integrated into all aspects of what your organization is doing, where is your organization in its use of AI? And explain briefly where you are in its journey and where you are going next. And whoever wants to start first.
I love this question when it came up in our preparatory discussion in our small group. Mine changes on the daily. I'd say today I feel a solid 5, but I really do think it depends on the day. There's new tools constantly. We're always learning how we can integrate more, but I think we are definitely in the between adoption and integration approach, specifically when it comes to marketing.
Yeah, I'd say we're in a 4 to 6. I like the sliding scale idea here. We use it for a lot of copy-based things. We use our custom GPT for a lot of efficiency things. And even in things like we're 100% virtual association, I should say that. So even in our note-taking of meetings, some of the other things that we get with our paid subscriptions or our paid accounts, we rely on those a lot now, just to quickly move information along and make sure a lot of folks are on the same page with in terms of readouts. So we use them a lot in small areas, I guess is the best way to put that. So I'd say we're anywhere from a 4 to a 6.
Yeah, I like that sliding scale too. And I'm going to kind of couch it a little bit differently. I feel like with generative AI, we're probably like a 6 in the various uses that we've had of it. But for agentic AI, which is where we're trying to go, maybe using Copilot, maybe other things, I feel like we're maybe a 2 or a 3. There's a lot to do to get those things ready, and I've been trying to read up on security measures and what you should and shouldn't connect with agents. And it's like a whole new part to our AI policy that we've just not worked through yet. So I would caveat what I say with those those two different things in our sliding scale.
And I'm going to go to the other end of the spectrum. I feel like we're very much in the exploration phase at IDEA. I think everybody's kind of playing around, seeing where they can build inefficiencies in their day with the different tools. We don't yet have a organization-wide policy. I think all of this is just really being developed in the early stages now. So I am excited to be here. I've learned so much just from our like pre-calls, and we're just exploring, you know, Copilot custom agents, and that's probably, you know, the administrative efficiencies are where we've really been leveraging this, I think, as you know, individual staff, you know, meeting notes, obviously, Otter AI, Firefly, everybody's using something different right now, but still it creates a huge efficiency. I think in terms of just even projects that would take sometimes 2 hours, you know, uploading Excel spreadsheet to create a list of panelists very quickly of hundreds of people. It's, you know, little administrative efficiencies like that are where staff are currently leveraging it. But we have goals around organizational-wide simplification and really assessing our internal tools. So I think we're going there. We're going there, and it's just in very early exploration phases.
All right, fantastic. We're going to move on to our next question. What policies or guidance does your association have in place with regard to the use of AI? And how do you present new initiatives to leadership or get leadership buy-in?
So I can start with that one. I'll drop it in the chat. We actually created our AI policy. This is without the work that we're doing right now on agents. And I dropped the link into the chat. But basically, I did some research and found several examples and kind of cobbled together something that made more sense for the association that I was previously at. I think that we got a lot of executive buy-in because I started there first and kind of put together a little risk assessment if we didn't have a policy and what might happen with sharing, you know, people inadvertently sometimes sharing data that we really didn't want going out there. So you'll see in the policy some perspectives on which tools they can use and when they can use them, what they can and cannot upload to the document. So it's a living document. I wrote this almost 2 years ago, and I've updated it 4 times so far. So it just, you know, things keep changing. There's AI in everything now. So it seems like anyway. So that's the approach that we took.
I've been very fortunate at my association that we have been very AI open and friendly. We have a AI working group. It's admittedly more focused on systems engineering on our industry, but they took on the endeavor of writing our AI policy, not just on our stance on AI for our industry as a whole, as general guidelines and responsibilities, but also for our company and how we operate and do our work. It's not finalized yet, but we've taken a lot of best practices that we've seen from others. And when it comes to leadership buy-in, it has helped a lot to have an industry that is open to newer technology and being on the cutting edge of it. When it comes to presenting new initiatives, it really, I think, comes down to having your use cases thought out ahead of time and being able to present that to your board or your executive director, whoever your next leadership up the chain is, and making sure that you have a prepared case for it, use AI for it. And I've noticed that that has gotten a lot more acceptance before, when I think it out before I bring it to them, especially with those use case examples.
We've done
Yeah,
a lot of having, you know, outside of our industry experts come into our conferences and meetings at the higher leadership levels to educate our members who already are doing so much in the AI space themselves, but just on where things are, the state of growth and the trends, and how, you know, they can really be leveraging this and how powerful AI is. So I think that's been I don't think we've met a lot of resistance because of that. It's just, you know, getting to that point. But I think it's been very helpful to have our leadership be directly exposed to experts outside of our state.
Yeah, we've had to take a pump the brakes approach in ways. It felt like it took a while for folks to get it comfortable with the idea of using AI, but once they realized that it was okay, that it wasn't completely scary, we had to make sure that they knew, no proprietary information being dumped straight into an engine, for example, or don't replace your own voice, even though it's your turn to write the weekly staff column. Don't replace your own voice with just AI generated things. And so I've had to create some, it's not policy level yet, but some just general guidelines to work from. And I've actually had to work a little harder from an editing standpoint in the copy things because I know we've had some quiet, quick adoption from other staff who may not verbalize it, but you can see it in the work and the outputs they're now providing, which is fine. But you just have to be pretty cognizant that that's happening, and really paying attention to your brand voice and protecting your brand voice so that you don't give it away um, almost overnight if you're not careful.
I'm very glad you mentioned that, Curtis. I'm not going to lead in yet to the next question, but that is something that I'm seeing a lot when we get a lot of our chapter input for our quarterly newsletter, is that as the editor, when I receive these articles, you can start to see the AI voice throughout. And I know, Kelly, you had a great example with Canva, and once everyone gets access to Canva, thinking that they're a graphic designer. And I think that now we're having to backpedal a bit on the marketing end to come up with our own guardrails.
Yeah, it can almost be counterproductive at times to rein that in, and then but
It,
it's
it's
more
hard to balance. It's hard to balance the folks who want to be helpful, right? They know you're busy. They know they have a lot of
yeah,
stuff, and they're just trying to push things through. But it really is just it's a conversation back and forth between
yeah.
departments, like everything else. Just
Mhm.
them understanding that they can't just do stuff without some checks in the interest of protecting the association's voice.
Right. Mhm.
Let's expand on that a little bit because I suspect that that's a universal challenge that we all have. So how do you take the AI generated content and really personalize it, protect your brand, make sure that you are using elements of storytelling, and then as you all have mentioned, ensure that it is not viewed as something that is artificial, for no pun intended. Um, any further examples of or tips on how to take AI generated content and really ensure that it is true to your brand identity and your marketing messaging?
Yeah, I'll start really quick and say I've leaned heavily into our custom GPTs for this, because you can train the GPT to sound like you if you take the time to train it correctly. And that is why the prompts are so important. That's why using as much data as you're comfortable sharing, do that, for several reasons. And I can expand on those later. But one of those is so that it does learn what you're after. And you start to combine all of those things in through that custom GPT, especially, and you stand a much better chance of um, returning something. I'm not going to say it's not usable if you don't, but that's usable in a way that's really, you're going to be able to leverage it fully, and where it really does start to become a support tool or support mechanism for you versus you fighting your way to fighting to the death over getting something that will work.
Yeah, and I would expand on that and just say, since we're not yet there, we're just exploring the custom GPTs. A lot of time is spent, looking at this like you're working with an intern, you're working with a brand new agency that's writing copy for you that doesn't really know your brand yet, and you have to really look at it as over time that is going to improve and the work will be less. But in the early stages, it is all about the prompts, providing as much information as possible, providing examples, feeding in information that is authentic into your brand, and then working in, for example, we just did a flyer that we used, I think, Chat GPT to develop some of the copy, help us with that. But it was, we pulled out real member testimonials and highlighted the stories within that. So it's almost like it was background, and the stories, the testimonials are really what stood out to highlight the product that we were featuring. So I think you're always going to need everything is branded and in line, and we're very much still using this as assistant, a tool, an intern, someone to help us and support us. But I think even with that, it's helpful, right? Because that can be done in seconds versus, half hour, 45 minutes. So it's still very useful. But the prompts are key.
I will say too, just to throw this in there, I always start the conversation with whatever it is that I'm trying to get it to. I want to know what it knows first. And so I will say, tell me everything. And just for example, tell me everything you know about my CHSE credentialing program and just point blank and just see what it comes back with so that I have some base to work with to educate it going forward. Because if it comes back with something awesome and it just explains it better than I can, that's really great. I can fast forward into some other copy things. But if it comes back and I notice some gaps in the information, or if I notice that it's creating mythological stuff, like I need to start there, right? So I always ask it, just tell me what you know in general first, and then I go from there.
I'm gonna double down on Curtis's creating a custom GPT with the voice of your association. One struggle that I had prior to doing that was not having a voice of our association. It tended to change as leadership changed and as we'd have a new board come on. And so it's an ongoing, like Kathy had said, a living document when we were working with these AI tools. And I have to then feed it lots of the last 10 years of our board of directors messaging that we have to try and help curate that voice for us and then write the prompt to have that custom GPT. And I am updating it probably weekly. And I feel like I'm still fine tuning to find that voice. One thing that I found is helpful is if you have written a first draft of something, or if you had AI write your first draft of something, ask your LLM of choice to analyze it for its intent and then have it rewrite the content for you. By having it analyze itself for that intent or your first draft for its intent, it really finds out what is the message that you're trying to convey to your audience, who is your audience. And then when it rewrites it, it isn't just giving you that generic voice of write me a social media post about this upcoming webinar that I have. Here's the abstract. And I found that's been a really, really helpful tip is to have it analyze your copy for intent and then help redraft.
I think that's a really great idea. I am doubling down on what everyone's saying about custom GPTs. Those are a game changer for us. We have marketing plans that I've created that have messaging architectures on there. So the message, the value proposition tied to a specific target audience. And that has helped just tremendously, having that information in there, along with like our brand and writing style guidelines. And then as Kelly was saying, uploading, examples of what we like and don't like. And then, this is still a learning process for us. I mean, I just learned about using Markdown code in your prompts and the custom GPTs, which basically formats it so that the LLM of your choice can read the stuff that you uploaded and actually use it. Before that, I was seeing maybe 4 or 5 AI generated responses that fit all the stuff that I uploaded. But then like as time went on, instead of learning from that, it kind of reset and started from scratch almost. And so I found that making sure that we use the Markdown code for our prompts, it just made it easier for the tool to understand what we needed. Because there's a lot that I uploaded.
I do want to give Kathy a bit of a shout out. It was your guide that you posted on LinkedIn that helped me start to really craft my custom GPT with my association. So
Oh,
thank you.
nice.
Your tips on LinkedIn are very helpful.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move to the next question now. A lot of focus on tools and tech of AI, but please talk about the importance of the human element.
Yeah, I will just continue on and say, I mean, there's so much nuance already. I feel like we're a pretty niche organization. And so I think there's always the human element is going to be critical. We have generally, we know that AI has some level of bias, right? Doesn't know us, like I was saying, doesn't know us as well as we know ourselves. And so it's going to be critical, I think, to always have have a human in the equation at this point. Eventually, with these custom GPTs and things, who knows, down the road, things are moving so quickly. We can be, again, that can be less of a burden on us. But right now, I think the storytelling we know is so critical, making this sound organic. I will tell you, we've had some cases where we've kind of pulled things out of ChatGPT that people internally really responded to and said, yes, this is what we want. But then, in reality, these are kind of just that sea of sameness. And I think people are so used to seeing that kind of um, language that it's almost like, yes, that's what we're going for. But it takes out, we know on the branding side, on the communication side, that we're missing, that human element. So that's where our eye really is, to identify and customize to make sure that this is true to our voice and our of the organization, and really sounds like us versus everybody else. So it's really going to continue to be key for, I think, the foreseeable.
I think for me, it comes down to storytelling, right? Like AI can give you the why should you attend a conference? It's networking, it's education, it can point out the stuff, right? But what it didn't do or can't do, it can't replace the fact that you were there, that you heard this story happen and that result came, and that's your connection point, right? That's your hook. And so until you've crafted that perfect custom GPT that can remember to tell the best stories or has the best stories to tell on your behalf. I think that's always going to be the niche piece for the human element, in that you're going to be able to voice that thing better than it can. And I would also say, the trust factor, I guess, for me is that when you're doing these things, maybe this isn't quite the best part of the webinar to bring this up, but I'll say this in the trust factor: when you're doing these things, be honest, be transparent about this. This actually happened. This was a story at the show. Talk to this person. Like, be very forthcoming with, reminding people that we are real, that these things are real, what you're reading is real, because anymore people have a hard time deciphering for all the reasons. So keep that part of it in your marketing, and I think you'll be in good shape.
Yeah, I agree. We've used a lot of subject matter experts from our webinars. We actually created what I call an enhanced education experience, and I'll drop the link in the chat to that. But we use various AI tools to create job aids, which are either checklists or other things that you can use to transfer the learning to your job instead of just idly watching a webinar and wondering what to do with the knowledge that you acquire. And our AI policy is very clear, and our instructor policy is very clear. If you use AI, you're still responsible for the truth of what you put out there. And so when we uploaded like the transcripts and the slides to our various tools, and generated these job aids and executive summaries, we ran them by the presenters first, because sometimes AI hallucinates, but also the presenter of that solution may have wanted other points that were maybe more important in their minds than the ones that the AI tool brought out or surfaced out of what we were uploading. So that's been a really critical thing for us. And I'm speaking of my last association, all of our instructors were like thrilled that we were extending the shelf life of their information and making it a higher ROI for attendees to get that information. So that's definitely a human in the loop issue.
One practice that I always try to adopt for at least anything creative content creation is starting and ending with a human, making sure that the idea generation and brainstorming process is human generated. If AI tools are used throughout then the creation process, review process, editing, that's fine. And then that final checks and balances, because like Kathy mentioned, there are still hallucinations. If you're using, even if you're just using a tool to analyze some data, you can directly ask it to analyze 10 countries with percentages on attendees for an event, and it can still miss one. And you'll tell it missed one, and it'll still miss it again. So starting and ending with the human has been a personal policy that I've been trying to do with my team.
Thank you. Well, you all have shared your experiences, from your own perspectives. I want to be sure to give you the space to share any success stories that you haven't shared with our participants yet, or lessons learned, or anything that you want to leave with the participants about success using AI in your space.
I'll
Yeah,
jump in.
yeah,
Oh.
go ahead. You start.
Mine, we just recently had the big win yesterday with our 30-day post-launch review, but it was in refreshing our website. We did a complete website redesign, and one thing that we really had to focus on was making sure that our content was AI bot crawler friendly. Now we're not just writing content for SEO metrics, but GEO metrics for that generative engine optimization. And so there are a lot of tools to help with that, but really making sure that you do some of those best practices to make sure that when people are searching and that AI tool produces search results for them with a summary, that you're the one cited, so that you're the authority still within your association's industry. And within our 30-day post launch, all of our numbers went up, including the GEO, and we were cited even more than Reddit, and that is a big deal in the AI bot crawler world. So that was a big success.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I
ours
can
was,
go ahead,
sorry.
Otis.
Okay. Thank you. Now this is my daughter. She's home from school today. Um, we had a white paper, or I'm sorry, we had a pre-conference planning or what I want to say, future visualization session a year ago at our conference, and it was marching healthcare simulation out to 2050, and we had 8 or 9 different focus groups or small rooms that we listened to, had 2 days worth of interviews and discussions, and you can imagine the amount of content that came out of that. And so we flipped that through a transcriber and then put all of the transcriptions through AI to help us identify highlights from one day into the second day, and then in all, and then had it spit out within minutes, within about 10 to 15 minutes, all of the commonalities that we saw among the groups and all of the different highlights we saw. And we're able to turn that into some quick turn. It was all a quick turnaround for the groups themselves to go back through, make sure it all worked. And it cut our publish time down probably by months if you take all the emails and back and forth out and all the calls and everything out. And we were able to publish our white paper by summer out of a winter conference, which when you're moving at the speed of association, sometimes that can sound slow, but that's actually pretty quick for us. And so we were really happy with how those tools were able to assist in highlighting all of, some of the things we may have missed across all of those different work groups or focus groups. And it became a really meaningful piece and one of our most read pieces over the last year.
Well, I would say getting sort of away from the generative AI on a different tool, Scribe or Scribe How, I think is the URL, has really helped us with standard operating procedures and having it record the different steps. Where my last association only had 9 staff, and we all were cross-trained in each other's things, but we didn't necessarily like upload things to LMS every day or edit the ads that appeared on Collaborate or whatever. So that was a game changer for us. Now people can like literally see the instructions, but then there's a screenshot automatically generated as you sort of navigate the tool. It generates those for you. So that was a game changer for us and has really helped improve the quality of the different processes that we captured. So that was huge for us.
And on the, small success stories, I feel like, again, we've just leveraged AI quite a bit for kind of administrative tasks, last minute requests from our board who suddenly need a poem to appear on a card the next day at annual session. Just, little things like that, that you're like, oh, I am tapped out. And you just, you have that creative partner. So I think there's just so much power in just, the little things as well.
Okay, why don't we move to our Q&A time? I know a few questions have been coming in through the chat. Sherry, is there a particular one that's stood out to you that you want to pose first? I know some of them got addressed in the chat.
Hannes asked, do you indicate on the do you indicate that it was edited by AI if you use AI in the editing or information gathering process?
So I provided an answer there, but I'll answer here too for the rest of the group. Not on every piece, right? Like if it's evergreen stuff or is close to the level of meeting the definition of throwaway content. No, I don't waste my time with that as much. But if there's a chance that it can be portrayed in the future as SSH position stuff or can be used in a future way that would matter credibly, right? Then yes, we would indicate that, AI had assisted in this process or that, this specific tool was used to accomplish this task, something, again, in the interest of transparency. But we don't ever want, and I guess I'll frame it this way too, is if it could ever be misconstrued as original thought coming from one of our leaders or from SSH, then we need to indicate that it wasn't, right? We may believe in what we had, but we need to indicate that we had some AI assistance on that.
Okay. There was another question here, but now I'm not seeing it. I'm sorry. I think it was about, oh, has the approved process changed? The approval process changed when you're using AI? Is it quicker, takes more time?
We found it a lot quicker. So we would like generate, say, our president of the board's presentation for the annual meeting or whatever. It cut back a lot of the back and forth with our board president and helped us really craft something quickly and then edit it from multiple perspectives. And so it probably saved, I don't know, a couple hours from back and forth with them.
Same, Kathy. We do an annual report and we also have quarterly reports to the board from our various operational committees and advisory committees. And previously, in addition to their quarterly reports, they would then have to write their draft for their annual report, which covers the same thing that was covered in the previous quarterlies. And so we've been able to use AI tools to be able to consolidate the 4 quarter reports into an annual report and provide a much better and more concise summary.
I found the question. Kelly H, we're still on you. What specific tools, if any, did you use for website content optimization for geo and AI website crawlability?
Yes, we did use our custom GPT, so ChatGPT, but now many of the platforms, we use WordPress for our new website, have functions built into it where it can analyze your content, look at your H tags, look at your meta-analysis, your subheaders, your Google snippets, and it will analyze it, give you tasks even on how to better improve the content, and even with their AI tool, have suggested content, suggested tag words, keywords. They're very new. I'm just learning about this, that there are some new llms.txt docs that you can put into the root of your website. And it's specifically a document for AI search engines to be able to read. We're not quite there yet, but we're learning about that. So we'll see. But really, WordPress, our website platform is primarily it.
Yeah, there's a lot of good comments in the chat on things other people have used successfully. I also found it really surprising. I was reading submission guidelines for op-eds and letters to the editor, which are supposed to be original pieces of work. And the top tier publications, outlets, I don't even know who those are anymore, but anyway, they have in their guidelines, if you use AI, they have the ability to reject. But if they publish your piece and you have used AI, they reserve the right to sue you because you have used content that is not original and that comes from a curated source. So that's something. And I saw Tom put in the chat some comments about healthcare peer-reviewed journals, which I also thought was interesting. I think we wanted to go around and get everybody's last comment.
Yeah, just final thoughts or takeaways from each of the panelists for what you want to leave our attendees with today.
Oh my gosh, I'll get us started. So I think if you're not quite ready to use AI across your organization in a way that is ethical and disclosures, has a human in the loop. Definitely write a policy, do that with your staff team. Sometimes you can get an attorney involved, and I've seen them all, but get a hold of several examples. If you go to collaborate on ASAE and go to the AI roundtable or go to the tech roundtable, this question has been asked ad nauseum. So that means that a lot of people still need this information. So there's a lot of examples that you can pull directly from those group chats on Collaborate, but definitely have that. And to me, the most important part of the policy is the keeping the human in the loop, for sure.
I'd say that treat AI as a skill. And if you don't, let me say, you won't ever develop the skill if you don't try, like getting back in the gym, right? And just getting stronger with it. And it's a must at this point, especially in marketing and comms. And I would even say for almost all association staff at this point, when you start looking at things like white collar jobs, right? Well, AI, what is AI going to replace? I don't know if it's as dire as some folks have tried to make it, but it is certainly a skill that you're going to need in order to be effective at your job going forward. Maybe that's a hot take, I'm not sure. But keep practicing. No matter what you do, keep with it, keep reading about it, ask questions about those who probably are on the same level you are, even if you think they're ahead. There's always something new to learn because, as you've heard today, there's always something new literally every day or every hour with it. So just keep at it.
That was going to be doubling down on that, Curtis. Absolutely. And I think just a reminder to everyone that we're all in the same boat. These are very new tools. And so if it feels intimidating or daunting, we're all learning together across the globe with these new tools. And so jump in, don't wait. It is changing daily.
Yes, and I would echo all of that and say, there are tools there at the pace everything is developing. This is a good time to get in and explore and play around. They're going to change anyway, right? So at least you have a foundation and you're in there and helping to maybe lead the charge at your organization if they're not quite up to speed. And I think like Curtis said, everyone. I mean, I don't know anyone in an organization who isn't on an individual level using AI for something, right? So it's like we don't have a choice. Agreed. This is where we are, and it's really, I mean, it's just really exciting, and I'm excited to see what's next. And I've learned so much from this panel myself. So thank you all so much for letting me be a part of this.
Well, I want to thank our moderator, thank our panelists, and thank our participants for your great questions. And I think Sherry put in the chat that she would follow up. If anyone had a question that they wanted to forward to us, Sherry could take care of that. And I think Sherry may have some final thoughts.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks everybody for joining us today. This was really a robust discussion. I just put my email into the chat. So if you do have a question that wasn't answered or you want to ask in front of anyone, please feel free to contact me. Look forward to seeing you all in March and have a terrific day. I hope those of you who are on the East Coast with me do not get pummeled again with the snow. So have a great day, everybody. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.